Hello and welcome to Prairie Pulse. Coming up a little bit later on Prairie Pulse, we'll profile bonsai artist Lloyd Harding. But first up, we have Jasper Snyder, the State Director for the USDA Rural Development. Jasper, thanks for joining us so much.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
As we get started on this show, we like to let the folks tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Sure. Born and raised in Fargo, and I think one of the neat things about being a North Dakotan, one of the things that binds us all is our rural roots. Oftentimes, even if we're living in a population center, Bismarck or Fargo or Grand Forks or Minot, we oftentimes so closely associate with those rural communities that either we came from or one generation off the farm. My great-grandparents homesteaded in Slope County. My mom was born and raised in Bowman. My father's from Fargo. Recently moved to Bismarck a year ago when I took this appointment. My wife is Kimberly. She's also from Fargo, but as an IBOC and her family comes from the Strasburg-Linton area. And we have two wonderful children, Jack and Elise, who are 5 and 1. And they're adjusting well to life in Bismarck, and we've absolutely loved the transition. North Dakota is a special place. It's an exciting time to be a North Dakotan, and we're happy to be here. In Fargo, I had a law practice. I'm a graduate of Jamestown College and served 2 terms in the North Dakota legislature, the 2007 and 2009 legislative sessions, where we both had surpluses and tackled those many issues, and now we're focusing on development of rural America.
Okay. With that, though, how did you come to be and be interested in the State Director for USD Rural Development?
Sure.
USDA Rural Development.
Well, with every administration turnover on the presidential level, there's oftentimes political appointments that come with it. In North Dakota, there's 4 political appointments. There's the U.S. Attorney, U.S. Marshal, State Director of the Farm Services Agency, which is a USDA agency, and then State Director for USDA Rural Development. And it's a presidential appointee. The White House contacted me to see if I was interested. But of course, that comes to be through the recommendations of the delegation. Senator Conrad, Senator Byron Dorgan, Congressman Earl Pomeroy. We're all huge advocates of mine and helped connect the dots to put things in place.
Okay. Well, do this for us. What is USDA Rural Development? So what's its mission and role?
Sure. Well, very generally, we're committed to the future of rural communities. And it's vitally important, especially in places like North Dakota. If you look at what our 2 major industries are in North Dakota, it's energy production and agriculture. Not necessarily in that order, but those are our 2 biggest industries. Both very much rural industries. And if we're going to reach our full potential in those industries, it's absolutely imperative that you have a strong, thriving rural community. You have a strong rural workforce to support those industries. And those are things that happen through rural development. We are committed to the futures of rural communities, stimulating rural economies, helping rural communities grow. And we do that through a wide variety of programs, whether it's financing for housing or businesses to grow and expand, or communities to build facilities, or deploy broadband internet or water projects. You name it, USDA Rural Development can probably do it.
Well, so how are you adjusting to the new position? I assume it had to be exciting to be contacted by the White House and the President's staff and be appointed by the President. But so how are you adjusting? It
is exciting. It's anytime the White House calls, you always make sure you call them back. But there's a lot of work to do. Rural communities are vitally important to the long-term success of North Dakota. I spend probably half my time out and about meeting with rural communities, meeting with those local leaders, and the other half in the office, making sure that things are moving in the right direction, returning emails, responding to phone calls. But we have a tremendous amount of programs through rural development, a tremendous amount of resources. We financed over $400 million in projects last year, but all developments has to start at the local level. Through federal government, through state government, we have a lot of programs to be helpful to rural communities, but it all starts with that local leadership. It's that local mayor, that local business person, council person that steps up and says, hey, let's seek what assistance is available to us. Let's move our community forward. Let's ensure that our community's better days are still ahead of us. And what we do best is help connect the dots. A lot of what we do is guaranteed loans, where we'll partner with that local bank, that private entity or public entity, and make everybody feel comfortable and provide ultimately the financing to make that project move forward.
Jasper, can you talk some about maybe some of the challenges that you faced?
Sure. with regards to what rural communities are facing. You know, for example, just the last 2 days, I was touring Southwest communities. I was in Regent and Motton, Hettinger, Bowman, Beach, Medora, Dickinson, just in the last 2 days. And every community largely is facing similar issues, especially as it relates to infrastructure. And a lot of attention right now gets put on the northwest part of the state because of energy production. But every community has issues with water, with shortages in housing, issues with roads and bridges. And even though there's this sort of illusion of prosperity in North Dakota, that prosperity isn't necessarily always felt on the local level. And so we're at a vital time in our state's history where we can kind of go down one path or the other, and a lot of it has to do with reinvestment. And I think communities, especially in rural communities, oftentimes don't necessarily feel like they have a voice, and it's so vitally important that we can meet with them, play a leadership role, and where we can, provide some financing to move projects forward.
Okay. Well, how many offices are there in the United States like this?
Well, almost every state has one. There's a couple of states, especially in the Northeast, that share an office between two states. But here in North Dakota, our state office is in Bismarck. We've got 55 employees. We have field offices in Dickinson, Minot, Williston, Valley City, and Devils Lake. And we've just got a fantastic team and group of people who are all hardworking and really committed to the mission of the agency, which is protecting the future of rural America.
Okay. Well, with that, let's talk some about maybe some of the specific programs that you deal with that impact North Dakota. What about housing programs that you have?
Sure. Well, housing is sort of what I refer to as our legacy product. It's what our staff knows the best. It's what we do the most of. Before 1994, when we became USDA Rural Development, we're actually known as the Farmers Home Administration, and many of your viewers may be more familiar with that than USDA Rural Development. So housing's what we do, and we have programs for single-family housing, for multifamily housing. We have a direct loan program where we're the lender ourselves, but we also do a lot of guaranteed loans where we'll partner with that local bank and allow them to feel comfortable to pull the trigger to move that housing project forward. You know, especially over the last year or two, where lending regulations have really gotten more strict. And those problems are compounded in rural communities, especially in the West where there's labor shortages, where the cost of labor is extremely high. You know, it may count X amount of dollars to build that house, but because of where it is, it may appraise at so much less. And so there's difficulties in financing and purchasing homes, but that's where we can help step in, provide a guarantee through the federal government, and allow that to happen. Now, this is important because if we're going to realize our full potential as a state, if we look at things like importation of foreign oil, and we look to solve our domestic energy problem, it's going to be in places like North Dakota. And if we're going to solve that issue, we absolutely have to have a supporting workforce and infrastructure, and that's where rural development can help step in and provide things like housing and infrastructure needs.
Okay. Well, but then can you expand then more about the community programs that you have? Yeah.
One thing cool about what we do at Rural Development is the flexibility of what we do. Now, a lot of times, you know, federal government and flexibility aren't synonymous terms, but really what the flexibility in our programs and the wide array of what we can do. We can help an individual purchase a home. We can help a business owner expand their business or start a business. We can help a community grow. We can help a region do a major water project, for example, or rural electric lending. Our community facilities program, which you referenced, we help communities build hospitals, clinics, long-term care facilities, ambulances, emergency services, water projects, and all of those are vitally kind of the nuts and bolts infrastructure of what makes a community tick. A good example of that, Jamestown Hospital, major $46 million investment between Fargo and Bismarck, and that's going to be a state-of-the-art medical facility for generations to come. We're providing, we did hospitals in Williston and Crosby to meet the energy production needs and the influx of new populations, emergency services all over the state. The community facilities program has just been vitally successful, and we're housing sort of our legacy product. I think really what a lot of our future really is in community facilities. It's the program that I enjoy the most because it benefits not just one person or one business owner, but really the whole community.
Okay. But then you mentioned business. What about business programs that you have? Can you tell us about these?
We also have our business and industry program, and that's the same type of program that it's very similar to SBA. but in a rural setting where we can help a business start up, help a business grow, where we'll work with the lender of that business's choosing, guarantee the loan to help them grow and expand. And we have countless examples of that. For example, we were in Dickinson yesterday. The Grand Dakota Lodge, which is a new hotel. I mean, that was a small business that was able to start up, provide short-term housing, create jobs, provide a tax base for that community. And it's just been tremendously successful since it opened up.
Okay. Well, and that's, you got others you want to talk about?
I could go on and on, but let's...
we'll move on to something else?
Sure.
What about the Rural Utility Services Program?
Sure.
RUS, I think some people call it.
Well, it's interesting. You know, when we switched from Farmers Home Administration to USDA Rural Development, we really have three agencies under us. We have the Rural Housing Service, which we've talked about, the Rural Business Service, and then the Rural Utility Service. And Rural Utility Service has provided a tremendous amount of financing into North Dakota for things like rural electric lending, broad deployment of broadband, high-speed internet all over the state, and water projects. And we've had substantial investments in Southwest Water, South Central Water, Rural Cass, water projects in Carrington, which fall under RUS. Just in the past year alone, over $70 million to deploy high-speed broadband internet, which is 21st century infrastructure, and it's taking, you know, bridging the digital divide that we have in North Dakota, and it's tremendously exciting.
Okay. What's been the impact of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, I guess the stimulus, on North Dakota through your program?
Well, the Recovery Act has certainly received its fair share of criticism, especially during an election cycle. But from a rural development standpoint, it's been tremendously positive, tremendously successful. North Dakota alone, almost $1 billion in recovery funds have come into North Dakota. I like to say that the two S's have been very good to North Dakota, the surplus and the stimulus. And we've had, out of that almost $1 billion, over $200 million came through USDA Rural Development. And it's had a tremendous impact. I referenced the Jamestown Hospital earlier. $46 million Recovery Act project, no stimulus, no hospital. We also did hospital expansions in Crosby and Williston with Trinity to help meet the growing demands of the population of the energy boom. Those projects likely don't happen with the stimulus. Water projects all over the state, broadband internet, housing, businesses expansion. It's been tremendously positive. And really what it did is it really advanced projects by years, and in many cases decades. And in other instances, it made impossible projects possible. And so it's been an exciting time to come into rural development because of this one-time influx of funds that made things possible that otherwise wouldn't have been. But it's an overall exciting time to be involved with rural development and frankly to be a North Dakotan.
Jasper, can you talk some about special efforts to assist the energy impacted areas of North Dakota?
Sure. Well, absolutely, no doubt about it. Energy impact or energy production has been a game changer for North Dakota. It's filled our general fund coffers. It's made influx of new population in the West, and it's contributing very positively to our state. But with that comes a price. We need to make sure that we have reinvestments in basic infrastructure. Every community I've toured, not just in the Northwest, but really all over the West where we've had a lot of energy production, shortages in housing. I mean, everything returns back to housing. And if you don't have access to housing, you can't recruit a workforce, you can't recruit teachers, doctors, an optometrist in town, nurses, just the basics of what it takes to fully realize your potential in that industry. To address the specific needs of the energy production, we've done a tremendous amount of housing in the West. Not enough, but we're getting there. And we have some limitations in our programs that we hope to be able to tweak in the next Farm Bill. That's where all our programs through USDA are established and funded. We've provided the emergency services in the Northwest. We've also provided hospital funding. And we've also oftentimes been a player in the Northwest where oftentimes there haven't been a lot of other government entities stepping in. But we have to, with regards to energy production, we have to think strategically. We have to step back and say, what kind of a state do we want to have 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because all of that production does come with a cost. I mean, the best thing North Dakota's had going for it over our lifetime is quality of life.
Well, if you don't mind, let's turn a little bit to your family. I understand that the Snyder family, of course, been involved in a lot of things and is involved, and your late father, John, was North Dakota U.S. Attorney and a state legislature. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my dad is absolutely my hero. I miss him every day. My dad passed away in 2001 from a brain tumor. But growing up, both my mom and my dad, tremendous public servants. My mom, both of them were Peace Corps volunteers. My dad was also a Marine Corps officer, served in the North Dakota legislature for 5 terms, was House Minority Leader. My mom worked for Senator Conrad since he was first elected to the United States Senate in 1986. Just great guiding figures for what it means to be a public servant and what it means to give back and what it means to be a North Dakotan. I'm very proud of my upbringing, very proud of my parents. But I've also been blessed with a great supporting cast too. My aunts and uncles are just wonderful people. They've been tremendous mentors to me. My brother, Rocky, who works in Fargo for the Home Builders Association, just a stand-up guy and my best friend. My cousin Mac, who graduated from high school together. He serves in the state senate representing Grand Forks. I'm proud of our commitment to public service.
Okay. Well, then with that, talk a bit about what you see when you visit the rural areas of North Dakota. It sounds like obviously you got the roots, you're entrenched in North Dakota. I know the economy is considered good here, but especially with the oil rich areas, but other communities are hurting, aren't they? Or at least, can you talk about this?
Yeah, one of the things we need to be sensitive to, and one of the things I hear as I travel all over the state, is although the focus oftentimes gets put on the Northwest, and the Northwest certainly has needs, but the similar issues are also being experienced all over North Dakota with regards to the need for infrastructure, water projects, roads deteriorating, bridges in need of repair, access to local education, access to local and state-of-the-art healthcare. These are all challenges that rural communities are facing. And the reality is, as you drive around rural North Dakota, it becomes very apparent very quickly which communities are headed in the right direction and which ones are headed in the wrong direction. And the difference is local leadership. It really takes that local leader to step up and say, hey, let's move our community forward. I think really what rural communities are looking for is somebody to remember that, hey, they're there too, that they're important to the long-term success of our state. They're the rocks, if you will, to support our energy production industries, our agriculture, our rural manufacturing businesses, and we can't forget about them. The challenge is we have changing demographics in the state. We have, to some extent, an outmigration, especially as it relates to our youth. I know that's been tapered off in somewhat in recent years, but we also have changing representation. If you look at the makeup of the legislature, for example, and I was there the last 2 sessions, our legislators are becoming more and more urban because that's frankly where the people are. And so, I was down in the Southwest the last couple of days. They have a tremendous amount of counties, a tremendously large legislative district, but they just have 3 people representing them. You compare that to Fargo, where they have a couple dozen legislators. It's not a fair fight.
Okay. Is it difficult to bring jobs to rural North Dakota as you're traveling around looking at these? And are there efforts to help with that?
Yeah, energy impacting or energy production has led to an influx of huge businesses, but we need to make sure we can't put all of our eggs in that one basket. There's a lot of states that have struck oil and that aren't exactly beacons of prosperity. So we need to make sure we diversify our economy. The best thing we can do to attract rural businesses and to keep young people in rural communities and encourage them to grow families and start businesses and be good citizens is just make sure we provide opportunity, make sure we protect the quality of life. And I think a lot of people, especially my age, are looking to return to their roots. They may leave. I lived in Minneapolis for 4 or 5 years, but when I wanted to start a family, I came back to North Dakota because of all that it has to offer. I think one of the things we've done that's pretty cool over the last year is deployment of high-speed internet. And let's face it, internet's becoming the 21st century infrastructure, and it's almost as vitally important as electricity or telephone. It allows people to start businesses, transact business, but maybe even more importantly, it allows people to stay connected to their friends and family no matter where they live, ultimately making it more attractive to live in rural America.
Jasper, we're about to run out of time, but what are your goals for the North Dakota's rural communities?
My goal for North Dakota, and which is also part of rural communities, is making sure that we provide the same opportunities to rural communities that they had when those folks were growing up, and making sure that we reinvest to make sure that our future is strong and that our better days as a state are still ahead of us, and that we just don't have short-term economic success, but we lay the framework for long-term economic success as well.
Last thing, if people want more information, where's the best place to go?
They can call our office here in Bismarck, 530-2037, or just usda.gov.
Jasper, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for more. Where painters have their brushes and potters have their wheels, bonsai artist Lloyd Harding's tools are snippers and shovels and pruning saws. The unusual partnership of bonsai is a work of art made in collaboration between the artist and a tree.
A bonsai is a tree in a pot. It was started 2,500, 3,000 years ago in China. You find bonsai growers and clubs throughout the world in almost any country you care to name. The purpose is to grow a tree for aesthetic reasons only. The primary focus of bonsai growing has been the Far East aesthetic. Our Western aesthetic is for, say, fairly rich, detailed paintings, artwork, while the Far East aesthetic is concerned more with austerity and simplicity. My wife gave me a bonsai for a birthday present, and of course I put it on the dining room table and admired it and everything, and I promptly killed it in 3 weeks. So I decided I needed to figure out what was wrong here, because I like growing things and it was sort of an insult to my growing powers. It's getting on 18, 19 years now since I got that first bonsai. I have way too many trees now, but I can't stop. The definition of a bonsai doesn't require that it's a specific tree. I recommend do what the Japanese do. They have trees that grow locally in their area and create bonsai from them. A bonsai is a time-dependent process. It's sort of like a symphony, but it's a symphony of life, of growing. For instance, if you look at the typical structure of a informal bonsai tree or formal bonsai tree, which are styles, you typically have a large lower branch that comes off to one side. You have another branch a little higher up going off sort of toward the back to give depth to the tree. And then a third branch that maybe goes off in a different direction. And that variance actually goes all the way up the tree. The bonsai artist prunes these branches to make sure each branch gets sunlight. Cut that thing off. Get rid of it. So now we're starting to see the trunk a little bit. Say you prune off one of these lower branches, which I consider the bass instruments in the symphony. You know, they're the low notes, the ones that give it that strength. Sunlight now gets into that area of the trunk. And if it's a tree that will bud back, you'll get another bud growing somewhere along the trunk. And so you form that to create your bass note again. One of the things that people don't realize is that less is more when you're working with bonsai. The spaces in between are just as important as the branches. And that's what you're doing all through the years, is you're just creating this image of this tree, and it keeps changing on you, and you keep adding elements and taking away elements as it goes. When you do initially design the art piece, you do have some image in mind that you want to head toward. Typically, you do choose how high you want to make the tree, and you consistently prune it to keep it at that height. One of the really nice things I like about a bonsai is I consider it an egoless art. If the hand of the artist shows, it's not good. It's just not good art. This is a collaborative type effort. It's not a painting that hangs on the wall. This is an art that you get involved in. It brings you back into nature. I sort of saw this image. I've been working toward it with this tree. It's choosing to grow this way, and I wanted it to grow that way. So I'm going to have to change my idea and create something that looks attractive and pleasing according to what the tree wants to do. I have to listen to the tree. The tree doesn't have to listen to me.
Well, that's all we have on Prairie Pulse for this week. And as always, thanks for watching.